I'm Marc Egort with Egort & Partners Financial Solutions, LLC.
I'm Sam Applebaum with Egort & Partners Financial Solutions, LLC.
I think what makes Egort & Partners different from other CFO firms is the breadth of experience we bring. I mean, together we have over 65 years of professional accounting service. That brings a variety of different experiences that we can bring to our clients to help them understand how their data and information impacts them.
I agree. I think the years of experience is certainly very beneficial, especially because it's across various industries, and also the fact that we have some industry experience, but of course we have the underlying accounting experience and knowing what the story that the numbers are telling, and be able to look at those and determine if that's taking the clients in the direction they want to go.
Agreed. I think the public accounting experience combined with industry experience makes for a very robust experience for the clients. Particularly some of the experiences we've had in public accounting, I think we can draw upon that and really provide value to the clients. So for example, in all the years in practice, we've encountered not just many different industries, but many different types of accounting practice in those industries. Also, just some of the engagements we've had. We've had engagements in due diligence. We've had engagements in quality of earnings. We've had engagements in mergers and acquisitions. All of these experiences bring together a very holistic approach to our clients' needs, and we're able to use those experiences to really enhance the service we're going to provide.
I think bringing that wealth of knowledge, so for example, I've worked at several accounting firms, so I can see how clients were treated in each one, learned from those experiences and how important it is to make a connection with a client, be hands-on, be responsive to their needs.
Excellent.
Oftentimes we hear on the CPA side is that no one's communicating with me. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm just given a document, and now this allows us to take time to really go through the numbers with our clients, explain what they mean, what it says about where they've been, where they are, and help them transition to where they're going.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Often the communication component is what's lacking in a relationship, not for any particular reason other than in most classic CPA firms, they're volume driven and they don't really have the bandwidth or the time to really leverage the relationship that they have with the clients.
No, agreed, because in those kind of situations, the deliverable is a tax return.
Right.
Everything, all the communication is just leading to get that done. Here, we're starting with the financial statements and explaining what the story is behind that and helping the clients understand that, move through the numbers, and help them then take action steps based on those amounts.
Perfect. So, in our experiences when we work with bookkeepers, we find that they have a limited breadth of knowledge as far as putting together data, putting together financial information. But what they can't do, or we haven't seen them really be able to take that to the next step and say, look, this is what this information is telling you. Or we can parse this information out even further to give you more, a more direct response. Like, for example, putting together, key performance indicators or analytics. They can go so far in our experience of just putting together a set of books, but not really being able to give advice beyond that.
I agree. I mean, I think bookkeepers, they perform a very vital function. They make sure all the transactions are recorded, properly classified. But they're not able to then take that information and say, okay, tell me what this is telling me. Right. Based on these numbers, all right, you reconcile all the accounts, everything is in its proper bucket and account, but what do I do with this information? How do I make decisions going forward and gauge where I am and where I want to go? This just tells me what happened in the past.
Right. To exactly that point is that if the bookkeeper is unable to discern what is actionable in this financial information, that may be the signal that it's time for a higher level of expertise to join the firm.
Agreed.
So in catering to specific services, I think a lot of that comes back to the experience that we've had either serving them through public accounting or serving them through industry. So different industries have different, let's say, for example, key performance indicators, or they have different requirements, maybe different regulatory requirements, a different way to present the financial information that may support decisions that the client is going to make. So I think having an understanding of how that industry operates is going to be key to making sure that there's information that's more impactful for the decisions.
No, I agree. I mean, I know with we talk about in the healthcare industry where there are certain indicators, certain metrics that are pivotal. They need to know about, costs per patient, per episode, whatever, so they can make key decisions. And because we have the understanding of that industry, we're able to focus on those and then explain that to the client and help them make decisions based on it.
Absolutely, like acquisition cost of the patient, what does it cost to send, or acquisition cost, what does it cost to send care out to a patient? Or if we're looking at law firms, let's say, and we do the work for law firms, one of the struggles most law firms have is reconciling, we were just talking about this the other day, reconciling their trust accounts. And most law firms who, even their own internal bookkeeping staff have really big challenges in that. I think we have a team that we can, if we take that off their plate, that now we can use financial information to make real decisions for them instead of having to spend a whole lot of time in a reconciliation mode.
Exactly. It lets them dedicate time to other tasks, and we can take that off their plate and give them the confidence that they know all those tie out, because as we discuss all the time, that's very important. If they're held to account,
they are,
to make sure that all of that agrees and ties out.
Our firm can go in and assist a client with recasting many different years of financial statements. If there's been struggles in their finance department, if there's been struggles with their bookkeeping, in order to organize those financial statements, we can go back in and help recast or recreate those financials.
Agreed. And I think we also have to look at one thing that we're able to do it, but how does that best serve the clients being fractional CFOs?
Right.
Because a lot of what we're doing then is we're taking the information where it is now and using it to move forward. So if we're looking back a couple of years because they're getting ready for an acquisition, they need due diligence, cleaning that up, certainly that serves that purpose. So yes, we can do it, but depending on their goals, they may not want us to do that as their fractional CFOs.
And to that point, I think the important outcome with that is, yes, as you've suggested, if there's specific needs for that for the financial reporting, but also for their process. If they have many years of outstanding bookkeeping that's not done, we're concerned about compliance. We're concerned about information backlog, but also that they don't have a process in place that allows for this. And so that's something that we as fractional CFOs can come in and help them regain that process or tighten up that process or make sure that process is serving their needs.
Agreed. They can gain that footing and they know they have confidence, right processes in place, and good information going forward.
Agreed. So the hands-on component really depends upon the strength of their financial operations to begin with. So often we're hired to maybe just support the financial team that already exists there, or to use the information that they provide to take it to the next steps. We were just talking to a client the other day who has in their mind a very strong financial team now, and now they want to go to the next level. It's like, well, we have data. Now I need someone to take that data, manage it in such a way that I can make decisions because now I have better information.
Right. Agreed. And I think the level of input really just is based on the client's needs. They may want us to come in and they have the people who could do that analysis, but they're so burdened with the day-to-day,
right?
They could bring us in and we could help alleviate that, all the back office support. Right. Or it could be the opposite. They want to focus on that and they could allow us to, we're really there to serve them and give them the time based on what their needs are.
Wow, to go through a monthly check-in with us, what it's designed to do is to give the business owners some confidence, right? To give them an understanding of decisions that they're going to make based upon data that's provided through either our work or our leadership of their finance team. So in the end, if we're having an advisory consultation with them, we're going to be in a position to tell them, like, look, the decision that you made is going to impact you financially this way, or we can predict you might have a cash flow influx, or you might have a shortfall, or you might have a revenue increase, but maybe not have all the cash from that. These are all the things that our advisory and our monthly consultative discussion should bring to light.
No, I agree. And I think very important in that light is the fact that we're coming together just to have a conversation with our clients.
Right.
We're not there to scold, to judge. This is information based on this. This looks like the direction you'd be moving in. maybe you're happy with that direction. Or if not to move in that direction, you have to cut something out that for you in your business is pivotal. I mean, they certainly know their business better than we do.
Very good point.
But I think it's important just to have that free flow conversation and just present the information. And this is
right. I think that what is often lacking in the relationship between the clients and a CPA firm is that consultative component, where maybe on one level the client may not perceive the value from a CPA to do that independently. Oftentimes the CPA doesn't have the bandwidth to have that level of oversight on financials because maybe they're using financials for a very different purpose than, let's say, a CFO or internally generated financial statement would do to support them. So it comes from a different set of eyes. It comes from a different set of purposes. And so our dialogue with the client would be to allow them that space to say, I'm using this information differently than what my CPA is using it for. They may use it for a tax plan, or they may just use it just to get to a tax return. Whereas we may use it for strategic profitability, for potentially a sale or an exit strategy, anything that would support the client's needs at that moment.
We've had this conversation before. We've also touched on the fact that the audience is different. Who's going to get benefit from that financial information? You might have a CPA that's doing it, like you said, get to a tax return. It could also be for an outside party. I got to give this to a bank. I have to give some other. Versus, hey, this is for management. We're doing this for you. Give you information so that you can make decisions based on that.
So the way Egort and Partners helps businesses prepare for transitions, obviously it depends on what type of transition we're looking for. But I think what our role would be is to help give everyone confidence in the financial information, the KPIs, add backs, EBITDA, anything used to help make decisions about the financial health of the company. Having us there gives the perception of a deeper bench and more qualified financial responsibility. So I think just having the ability to ask questions and be able to answer those questions and support those answers with the work that we've done, I think is a huge step for clients who are not used to having that level of input, not used to having that level of expertise right there within their firm.
I agree. And I think, as much as we certainly know the clients understand their business through and through, but when we're looking specifically at the financial health, there may be things that they, it's kind of like one of these where they haven't really seen.
Right.
Then you really bring out all these KPIs. Well, what does that mean? Well, I didn't know that. Or like we talk about all the time, the first step is to start with a budget, something as basic as that. But if they don't have that, then how do you know if you're lining up, if you're in line with what your expectations are?
Right. If they're not used to seeing and using certain data points all along because it's just never been brought to their attention, or they haven't contemplated it because they're used to managing with limited information. They're used to managing with what's the bottom line say in my profit and loss? How much cash do I have in the bank? That is one component of information, but not enough to make strategic decisions with.
Agreed.
So, in preparing businesses for investment and funding, it often starts with the financial statements. An investor coming in or a lender coming in wants to see the strength and the credibility behind the financial information. So having a fractional CFO to kind of help guide and lead in making sure that there is a deeper bench in that financial reporting and there's credibility behind it, I think that's where we start.
I agree. And also, it's one thing just to show up and present a potential lender with these are financial statements. Quite another than to have all that analysis that we can provide to really extract the story from the numbers sitting on the page.
Right, and I think a good example of that is when we go into investors, and we've done this before, when we have a projection, let's say, and the investor wants to know, well, how am I going to get paid, right? So a CPA handing a financial statement over to a potential investor or lender doesn't answer those types of questions.
100%.
A fractional CFO coming in can say, I know what the lender or I know what the potential investor is going to want to see. They're going to want to see not only their return on that investment, they want to see if it's funding periodically distributions or dividends to them or interest payments, anything that supports their ability to infuse the company with money.
Agreed. And I think another aspect that we bring to it is that we're also focused on relationships. So you might have a client, they're looking for funding sources. They only just kind of see, what's right there in their sphere, but we have other connections. There might be plenty of other opportunities that they don't know exist. We get them in front of those individuals make those connections.
Absolutely. As fractional CFOs, we can also be dot connectors for them.
Absolutely.
And really put resources in front of them that maybe they didn't have access to previously.
Agreed.
So the ideal client for us is a company that is ready to take the next step in their financial reporting and their financial operations. Someone who's ready to use not just basic financial information on a profit and loss or a balance sheet, but who wants to dive deeper into understanding how those metrics, how those KPIs, how the financial reporting actually impacts their business, their growth, and decisions that they make, and how it affects their financial performance.
Agreed. I know we've spoken before about really for a startup, probably not.
Right.
Once you have a company that's really gone through that process and they're at a certain level and they're humming along, okay, so then, like to your point, what's the next step?
Right.
How do I go from where I am now to ultimately where I want to be? How do we bridge that gap?
Right. And I think that would be the best use of our expertise.
Agreed.
So I really enjoy this conversation because it gives people an idea of like how we think, how we structure our service, and also what they can glean from it, what's important for them, and how we can actually help them. So I really appreciate that we can speak about these ideas and show them the differences between working with an external CPA versus working internally, having an internal resource as a fractional CFO.
I agree. I mean, it really gives them insight into how we connect with one another.
Right.
It gives them some insight into how we connect with them as well and how we could help them along with that process to
Right.
achieve the results they're looking for.
So probably the best way for clients to reach out to us is using our contact information form on our website. We'd love to hear from them. We'd love to be able to answer their questions. And we feel there's just in the conversation alone, we think that there's education and learning just in that, and we're happy to be a resource for them.
No, agreed. I mean, I think it's so important just to connect on that personal level. That's so much a part of why we're doing this. So we really invite clients, potential clients, reach out to us. Let's have that conversation. Let's connect.
Agreed. So let's just start by going to our website, epfsllc.com, and we hope to hear from you.
Coming to you from the Egort and Partners Financial Solutions LLC office here in Fort Lauderdale, I'm Sam.
And I'm Mark, and we really hope to be able to work with you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.